This is episode number 25 of Hitting for the Cycle. I'm Ryan Touhey, that's Ben Kruse, and we are officially ready for opening day. The Major League Baseball season starts today, March 28th, the day of this recording, and the two of us are pumped up. How are you doing, Ben?
Doing good, Ryan. Obviously missed you last week, but I'm good to be back, and good to be back on the day of opening day. So I can't be any more excited. I obviously wish the Red Sox were more excited than I was, but I'm excited regardless. Baseball's back. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously I missed some stuff from last week, so definitely hopeful to kind of catch up. And I'm excited.
Yep, there's a lot of storylines to look forward to for this upcoming baseball season. But before we get into them, we just want to remind everybody to please follow us on all our social media platforms. Follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. And finally, listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.
We're also presented to you guys by Wool Spreads, which is an app that we are sponsored by. If you guys are, doing parlays or spreads or money lines and you're doing betting and it's making your head spin, download the I was going to say DraftKings. No, the Wool Spreads app. You can draft the DraftKings app if you want to, but we are sponsored by Wool Spreads. And essentially the way it goes, everybody puts $1,500 to $2,000 into a competition. Everybody gets that free money. And, you could do, we did a competition of the football season. Obviously, March Madness is around. Baseball, obviously, is today. Basketball is still in full swing. Hockey is still in full swing. So any type of sport, download the Wool Spreads app. You won't want to regret it. And you can, compete with the over-unders, the money lines, the spreads, all that fun stuff. Download the Wool Spreads app today and get on the action.
All right, so let's just get into it. Before we start talking about the season in general, we want to follow up with one of the biggest headlines that we could possibly imagine from last week, the Shohei Ohtani, Ippei Mizuhara triangle gambling fiasco. So as I spoke with Nick Morganson on last week's episode, Ippei Mizuhara was fired by the Los Angeles Dodgers after allegedly stealing $4.5 million out of Shohei Ohtani's bank account, involved in a massive gambling scandal. And obviously, Mizuhara was Ohtani's right-hand man. He went everywhere Ohtani went, and it was just a shocking announcement. Nobody saw this coming. And it's hard to envision Ohtani without Mizuhara because they were that close. They were in sync together, and their lives revolved around each other quite a bit. Mizuhara's life basically was Ohtani, and Ohtani's life is about baseball, obviously. So Ohtani held a press conference earlier this week on Monday to address the situation. And I'm reading this article from ESPN. Ohtani said, "To summarize how I'm feeling right now, I'm just beyond shocked. It's really hard to verbalize how I'm feeling at this point." And it's kind of crazy to, maybe not crazy is the right word, but for me personally, it's a little tricky for me to see that Ohtani was completely not knowing about Mizuhara's actions. I just think that Ohtani is a guy who's on top of everything, whether it's, baseball or family, personal life, you name it. I just feel like he's a guy who's just always looking over his shoulder to make sure everything is in order for himself. So I think Ohtani kind of knew more than what he's saying that he knew in this press conference that he called for on Monday. I just feel that he had to know a little bit more, and I think he's trying to play down Mizuhara's actions a little bit. I'm not entirely, but I just feel that he knew more than what he's sharing. I don't know how you're feeling, Ben. What are you making about this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the story is absolutely crazy. I didn't obviously really get the chance to talk about it last week with you guys because I wasn't here. So, just the overall story, absolute craziness. They found out during the Soul Series about it. Ohtani obviously didn't know, as he was reporting during his press conference, that he didn't know about it until, I believe, after the first game of the Soul Series. So, there's just a lot of stuff, specifically, I think from that press conference, where I think personally he was pretty, sincere about, humble about. But I also, like you mentioned, I think that there's still more to this story that we don't know about on both sides. I think that the $4.5 billion. I think that the fact that Otani did not know about that, I don't know necessarily if that's true or not. I think that he is. I think the biggest thing about the story right now, Ryan, is nobody wants to be the fall guy, right? Nobody wants to take full on ownership and be like, hey, like I essentially found out about this. It's essentially the Spider-Man meme, all in one about this,
Yeah.
right? So I think that I don't think that this story is going to pretty much go throughout the whole entire baseball season, but I think that there'll be bits and pieces throughout the season where just like, all right, this part of it we didn't know about, this part of it we didn't know about, but right now we're just gonna kind of keep it the way it is, kind of preliminary, I guess. I guess you can say the word like talks.
Hmm.
It's like a negotiation. So yeah, I think that, like I said, this story is obviously madness, but I think there's obviously more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Otani was saying that this is from the Associated Press. Otani also said eBay has been stealing money from my account and has been telling lies. And I never bet on sports or have willfully sent money to the bookmaker. So Otani right away, making it clear that he has never bet on baseball or sports in general. I personally do believe him when he says that. I don't think he would risk throwing away everything that he's
Me too.
accomplished in his baseball career to bets. But like I said, at the same time, when he says that eBay has been stealing money from me and been telling lies, I'm just thinking, then what the heck took you so long to realize this?
Mm,
This is very serious, and not to mention, Otani's name is on two transactions from his bank account, two five
yeah.
hundred thousand dollar transactions. So, I'm just so confused here, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, what have you been living under a rock? Like, for God's sake, this is a lot of.
Yeah, no, like I agree. Like, typically when you're writing down a check, like it's under your name, so you should know about it.
Mhm.
So essentially, like, how do you not know, right? And especially if it's like, I understand, like maybe if it's like I don't know, like 200, $300. Still, it's obviously a lot, but 4.5 billion. It's like you should know, bro. Like, I know, obviously, no, people make mistakes, people understand, stuff here and there. Um, but yeah, there's something going on. There's still something going on, like I said, that we don't know about. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Has he been a little bit on the rock ride? We don't know. So
I'm just continuing to read this article from the Associated Press. The IRS has confirmed that they are under a criminal investigation for Mizuhara and the alleged illegal bookmaker. His name is Matthew Boyer. So the two of them are under investigation. And Mizuhara told ESPN on March 19th that Otani paid his gambling debts at the interpreter's request. And he was saying that the bets were on international soccer, the NBA, the NFL, and college football. So I don't know if Otani knows about college football necessarily. Right away, I'm like, does he watch college football? Why would he care about that sport? So, like I said, it's such a convoluting story, and unfortunately for Otani, I think this is going to hover over his head for the foreseeable future, at least for a while. Going into this
uh,
baseball season, when the Dodgers are on the road, he's going to be a target for opposing fans, and then I think they're gonna try and get under his skin with this whole thing. So yeah, I mean, this thing is still not over. There's still a lot of things that have yet to be uncovered, I believe, when it comes to this. But yeah, Altani also said, oh, actually, I'm just reading further on this article. So ESPN said Mizuhara changed his story the following day, and he said that Otani had no knowledge of the gambling debts and had not transferred any money to bookmakers. And then Otani says, all this is a complete lie. eBay obviously basically didn't tell me about the media inquiry, and eBay has been telling everyone around that he has been communicating with me on this account to the media and my team, and that hasn't been true. So it's just a bunch of like back and forth, going in different directions. Obviously, these two are going to be giving their sides of the story, so there's no clear cut answer as to what exactly has happened here.
Yeah.
Um,
It,
so
it's either like he is trying to defend himself for essentially his best friend that is in massive trouble,
mhm.
or he's trying to defend himself personally, where he essentially is looking at Ippei as the guy that kind of was his right hand man for so long, and they obviously their relationships kind of starting to break apart kind of after this. So, like I said, what's going to happen, we don't know, but there's obviously a lot to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just strange seeing Otani now without Mizuhara beside him. It's like a superhero losing a sidekick, basically.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
kind of a strange sight. But yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sure we're gonna get more news on this in the coming weeks. And yeah, this is not going to be going away anytime soon, if you ask me. And unfortunately, for the Dodgers, for all the work that they've done this offseason, this is the last thing that they were expecting. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And if anything else happens in the coming weeks, we'll definitely cover the story. So that's that. There was another move that was made yesterday, or actually, yeah, I think it was yesterday. The Arizona Diamondbacks signed Jordan Montgomery to a 1 year deal worth $25 million. Montgomery was the last Scott Boras client, still on the free agent market, and he signs 24 hours before the start of the regular season. Go figure. But for the Diamondbacks, this move makes sense if you ask me. They're going to be without Eduardo Rodriguez to start the season. Rodriguez was a big off-season acquisition for them. The Diamondbacks are also going to be without Paul Sewald, even though Sewald's their closer. So they're already dealing with injury problems in the rotation and in that bullpen. So I definitely think that bringing in Montgomery definitely helps them out a little bit. What do you think about this move?
Ryan, it's about damn time he signed somewhere.
Yeah,
We've
you're
been
telling
essentially clamoring for so long this offseason. Obviously, the Red Sox have been tied with Montgomery for, months, it feels like, and the long lasting wait is over. Now, obviously, Monty, I think for the last couple of weeks, wanted a long term deal, right? I think that he obviously this overall type of contract is probably not what he wanted. You look at Blake Snell last week. He was clamoring for months that he wanted a long-term deal, but then he was open to a short-term deal, right? He signed that with the San Francisco Giants. Monty, obviously, 1 year, 25 mil. In terms of for the Diamondbacks, it's a great fit, right? I like you mentioned, I think Eduardo Rodriguez during the spring training went down a little bit. I think he's going to be coming back, but even if he does come back, Monty obviously gives them innings, right? And the fact is, I thought Monty wanted to go somewhere where it could be a 1 or 2. That's not true. He's going to the Diamondbacks specifically, I guess, right now. I mean, you look at it, they have Eduardo Rodriguez, they got Brent Baugh, who really, turned on the scene last year in the playoffs. You got Merrill Kelly. Now you have Monty. They got a pretty good rotation, Ryan. And you look at the overall NL West now. Obviously, the Dodgers made a lot of moves. But then the Giants, they went out and got Blake Snell along with Matt Chapman. Now the Diamondbacks got Montgomery. They made a decent amount of moves too. So the NL West is now starting to become potentially a bloodbath, despite the fact that you feel like the Dodgers made all these type of moves. Of course, theoretically, so they're still going to be probably the team to beat in that division, right? So it's a good move in terms of the Red Sox. Oh my God, like complete massive failure of an offseason, right? I thought we hopefully were going to get two, starters. Obviously, Monty was a guy on the list for a while. I thought Michael Lorenzen was going to be an option. He went to Texas. Yamamoto obviously was kind of more of a launch out than not, but they went from the whole entire offseason. They obviously lose Lucas Giolito, which kind of sucks. I thought the contract was okay, but the Monty obviously moving on and not signing with the Red Sox, but theoretically they definitely could have done. Just kind of shaped, caps off the nightmare of an offseason for the Red Sox before opening day. So I think it's great for the D-backs and it's awful, for the Red Sox because they definitely could have done this.
Yeah, there was talk about Montgomery maybe going back to the Yankees. However, those talks never really progressed to the point where that was going to happen. Same goes with Monty and the Red Sox. I honestly don't really like. Obviously, the Red Sox are our main rivals, but I honestly, who's their rotation? I don't know who's in their rotation.
I'll go through it really quick. They got
Yeah,
Brian Bale, obviously going to be number one. He's going to be
yeah,
starting tonight on opening day. You kind of know what he is. He's a young guy
yeah.
that they're hopeful for. Number two is going to be Nick Pivetta, who obviously
Oh,
has
hey,
been
Nick.
up and down.
Mhm.
He's all. I think he's a little bit better in the bullpen. Number
Mhm.
three is going to be Cutter Crawford. I think kind of broke out on the scene the last couple of years, but I think he's a 4 or 5 on a pretty good rotation, which is ours is not. And then number 4 and 5 is going to be Tanner Houck and Garrett Whitlock. Two guys essentially where they should be in the bullpen, but with the lack of starting rotation moves this offseason, obviously Lucas Giolito being out hurts. They obviously have to come in and be starters. And the biggest hope, I guess, the reason why I think they didn't go out and get guys is they're hopeful, right, that Andrew Bailey, the pitching coach, can kind of go and fix these guys. I don't know how much is going to happen, but yeah, that's the rotation right now, Ryan. It's pretty underwhelming, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, of all the guys that you just laid out in that rotation, the one that I'm most concerned about is Garrett Whitlock, because he has pitched well against the Yankees before in the past. But like you said, he's better as a reliever than he is as a starter.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes this year. I just want to quickly run down all of the main free agents that were Scott Boras clients this offseason and how they did this offseason and signing with the team. So as we mentioned in previous episodes throughout this offseason, the big names that were Scott Boras clients in free agency this offseason were Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Matt Chapman was another one, and JD Martinez was another one. They all signed. JD Martinez was also a guy who signed last week with the Mets. And these are the contracts that he managed to get these guys. So Bellinger got 3 years, $80 million from the Cubs with 2 opt outs. Blake Snell got 2 years, $62 million from the Giants with an opt out. Matt Chapman, 3 years, $54 million with opt outs. JD Martinez, 1 year, $12 million. And Jordan Montgomery, 1 year, $25 million with a vesting option. So that's what Scott Boras managed to do this year with his clients. I want to just quickly ask you: do you think the mystique and dominance of Scott Boras as an agent is a little tainted this year now, given how he was unable to secure a long-term deal for any of these guys, and maybe his invincibility cloak has been torn a little bit this off season?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this year with Boris, right? He's still the same old Boris where he's going to linger these guys until opening day, theoretically, obviously, with the last guy being Montgomery within days of opening day, right?
Hours.
Yeah, hours, right? So, I do think that the contracts, right, a lot of them include opt outs. Obviously, Monty's is a vested option. The only really the ones that don't are Chapman and JD Martinez, right? And JD Martinez, I think all along was going to be only a 1 year type of deal because he's getting older. Chapman, I think, third baseman, he's one of the best third basemen in the game. Um, the pitchers, right? The pitchers and Bellinger. Bellinger, I do think that he's kind of been up and down. Like he's had some really good years. He hasn't had some great years. So I definitely kind of can see that, right? But then Monty, obviously, you damn right. If you're going to be waiting that long to make a decision, you're going to get an opt out or a vesting option. Same with Blake Snell. So I think that Snell and Monty, they got those deals because they weren't, they wanted to get the long term deals. That didn't happen. So they're going to have to figure out, all right, we're going to do a short term type of deal with the potential opt out where if you do really well in that first year, you can either make a decision of staying that extra year or you can cash in and get paid somewhere else. So that's kind of the way I see it. But yeah, I think Boris, contract wise, he's lost his fastball, but he hasn't lost his fastball on waiting fans out for, months of making a decision for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely no doubt about that. And this offseason, when it came to all these guys, was just super anticlimactic, if you ask me. I remember once the season ended, there was just a lot of talk about where Snell, especially since he won the Cy Young Award, was going to be ending up in the offseason. And they just took their sweet time in signing these deals. It was so frustrating and obnoxious. And they really don't have anybody to blame but themselves. Boris, like I said, is a very greedy individual, and these guys got greedy as well, and they thought more highly of themselves than what they're actually worth. These are all, and I look, and the guys who I just read off the list, they're all good players, but you look at them and no one really stands out as like a future Hall of Famer, if you ask me.
Right.
Maybe Martinez, but you know, he's not necessarily the same player that he was, a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, no one really jumped off the map at you, and you look at these guys and you're thinking some of these guys could probably be worth maybe 5 years, something like that, 6 years
Yeah.
at most. No one jumped off of you as like a 9 or 10 year deal type of player.
No, I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, I think that these guys, like, if you look at like tiers of like star type talent, probably maybe somewhere like tier two, tier three. Bellinger, obviously pretty good bat, right? Martinez, pretty good bat, but obviously he's getting older. I think that we saw like the real good JD Martinez in Detroit, and obviously that 1 year with us in Boston. I do think that last year he was fine with the Dodgers. He'll definitely hit, still 240, 250. I think it's a really good fit, by the way, for the Mets. Obviously, I didn't get that reaction last week, but they finally get some protection behind Alonso, which I think that they were clamoring for years. Now with Alonso and his walker, I think this is the right fit for him. Monty, obviously, right? He's just a really good guy that can eat innings for a rotation. Snell, I think, is more of a control commands. That's his weakness. Really, it's more of the case. Monty's more of the commanded innings. So every guy specifically, Ron, I think has a part to be very solid. But like they're not like on like the Ronald Acuñas or the Aaron Judges of the world, right? They're kind of in that tier below where they're solid, right? So I mean, yeah, they weren't going to get like an 8 to 10 year type of deal. Not for some of the guys that Monty obviously was glaring that long term. Snell was too. They weren't going to get that. I mean, they're good, but they're not like great, elite type good. So
Yeah, I thought it was especially absurd when Boris and Snow were trying to get a 9 year deal. Like, get the heck out of here. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I they were trying to use the two Cy Young awards as the stepping stone to getting that contract. So we get it. Snell won 2 Cy Youngs, but he also is a little like Bellinger in that he's had 2 very good seasons, but he's
yeah,
also been inconsistent,
yeah,
in some of those other seasons as well. There were seasons where he just got knocked around. I mean, he had a terrible 2019, the year after he won his first Cy Young award. So, you can't necessarily, count on the fact that Snell's going to be consistent for 9 years if he were to
right,
get a contract of that size. So,
yeah,
yeah, definitely Boris and his clients definitely, I think, got a little greedy this offseason. And we'll see if these guys play out their contracts, or I'm sure some of these guys are going to opt out after this year. I expect Snell to opt out after this year.
yep.
I do expect Bellinger to opt out after one of these years with the Cubs. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, not the best offseason for Boris. And yeah, so that's that. Now we're going to move over to a contract that I'm sure Boris's clients would have died for. The Dodgers gave their catcher, Will Smith, a 10-year, $140 million contract extension, which is the largest contract ever given to a catcher in Major League Baseball history. Think about that. Will Smith, the largest contract extension ever given to a catcher. 10 years, 140 million. What a sweet deal this is for Smith. And another long extension for the Los Angeles, another big contract for the Dodgers. So they got Smith now. They've got the Yamamoto contract. They've got the Ohtani contract. So the Dodgers are just throwing at money left and right. Their players are swimming in dough. They're living the sweet life. And yeah, Will Smith today's actually his birthday. He's 29 years old. So the
Oh
birthday,
wow, happy birthday to him.
yeah, quite the birthday gift for him.
Yeah,
So 10 years, 140 million, like I mentioned. And Smith, is a fairly good catcher. He's a very good catcher. He actually is he's one of the better offensive catchers around baseball. He's had some very solid seasons. Last year with the Dodgers, he hit 261. He hit 19 home runs, drove in 76 runs. He had a 359 on base percentage, and he slugged 458. And he had an OPS of a 797. So he's a pretty solid hitter. He's not the best defensive catcher necessarily, but in a day and age where hitting catchers are just few and far between, I think Smith is a solid catcher. But I think 10 years for a guy who's 20, who just turned 29 today. I think that's a bit of a gamble. I don't know if Smith's legs are going to be able to hold up for the entire 10 years of this contract. He might have to be relegated to more of a DH role down the line. Um, so, yeah, I don't know exactly how I feel about this deal. Like I said, I think Smith's good. Don't get me wrong. I don't blame the Dodgers necessarily for extending him, but I do think 10 years is quite a bit to undertake. And Smith is not a Freddie Freeman. He's not a Mookie Betts. So yeah, I don't know exactly if he's going to be consistently good throughout the duration of his contract. I think catchers tend to break down a little bit sooner than other position players. So yeah, I think it's kind of a gamble for the Dodgers to be giving a contract of this size to their catcher, but good for Smith.
Ryan, it must be nice to pay players, right?
Yeah.
We used to be the type of team for many years. The Dodgers, yes, obviously, they've been throwing money like crazy, right? I feel like, and good credit to them, right? I do think that, you obviously want to be, smart about the spending, right? But the Dodgers, credit to them, right? They're paying their guys long-term deals. Even if like 10 years specific, that's a lot, right? And I'll talk about in terms of if I feel if it's right or not, but just they're kind of like the Braves in a way where they're paying their young talent, right? And it's going to be a long term future. Those two teams that I see right now are the two teams to beat for the long term in the National League. So, like you mentioned, Will Smith, very solid hitter, one of the best catchers, in the game right now at offense. His defense, I think, is fine. Nothing crazy, nothing special. Actually, to me, Ryan, one of my breakout catchers is Francisco Alvarez. I think that kid's an absolute stud. I think that for a guy like Smith, I think Alvarez and Smith are kind of similar in a way where I think that he might be getting a similar extension with the Mets. Nothing like that per se, but in terms of Smith himself, I think like 7, 8 years might have been a little bit better. I still think he probably should have gone the back 10 years though. Yeah, he's not Mookie. He's not Freddie Freeman. He's not Judge. He's not Acuna. He's not Devers, right? So, Smith is good. I just think that the largest contract, I mean, he damn right hopefully will be good for at least a good 6, 7 years about it because I'm not saying it's going to be a bust type of deal, but yeah, that's a lot. And, obviously they paid a lot into Ohtani, deservedly so. Ohtani's the best player in baseball, if it's not Judge, right? They paid a lot to Yamamoto, who obviously, yeah, he should be getting paid for them. So, yeah, I like, obviously, Will Smith. Like I said, he's a good hitter. I just don't know specifically if 10 years is, it should have been probably a little bit more between 6 to 8 years if I had to make an overall projection. But good for the Dodgers.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. Will Smith, like we said, very good catcher, very solid hitter. But yeah, the 10 years is just a bit much for me. You're willing to pay a guy through his age 39 season. There are not many 39-year-old catchers anymore in baseball. So it's yeah. I think the years is definitely what I'm not crazy about when it comes to this contract. I just think that's too much. I think the contract was a little too generous. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because that Smith is a homegrown guy. They wanted to reward him for coming up through the system and staying with the team throughout all these years. But
Maybe his birthday played a part in him getting a lot of this money too. We don't know.
Maybe, I don't know, but like I said, Smith is sitting pretty along with plenty of other guys in that locker room. So yeah, the Dodgers continue to throw out money left and right to their players, and as they look to be a juggernaut and continue this reign of dominance in the National League West for this foreseeable future. So yeah, Smith is staying in the. Looks like he's going to be a lifelong Dodger, and not many players can say that they've played for one team in their career anymore. So, yep, Smith to the Dod will stay with the Dodgers. And now we're going to move on to another deal that was made yesterday. So my Yankees made a deal with it was a three-way deal. They made a deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, a rare deal with the Rays and the Miami Marlins. So the Yankees traded their number 28 prospect John Kruse to the Marlins, and in exchange they get back utility infielder John Birdie, and the Rays get Ben Rortvedt, who was the final piece of that disastrous Josh Donaldson and IKF deal.
Yep, yep.
You can get for Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela
Mhm.
back in 2022. 2 years, and all the pieces to that trade have come and gone. So much for that. Definitely goes down as one of Cashman's dumber moves in his GM career. And so, yeah, the Yankees get John Birdie. And for me personally, as a Yankee fan, I think this was a good move. I think it was a necessary move. The Yankees are going to be without DJ LeMahieu to begin the season. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. I mean, the Yankees are saying that it shouldn't be too long, but DJ's getting up there in age. He's the oldest guy on the roster, so it could take longer than expected for him to come back onto the field. So the Yankees get John Birdie. And Birdie's a pretty solid player. He had a very good, respectable year last year with the Marlins. He played in 133 games. He had 294, so he hits for contact, something the Yankees could definitely use. Doesn't have much power. He only has 23 career home runs, and he only has 120 career runs batted in. But a 294 average, 344 on base percentage, and a 749 OPS. And he can play shortstop, third base. He can play the left side of the infield, which is something the Yankees will definitely need because they didn't really have many other options for those positions other than Oswaldo Cabrera. Oswald Peraza's hurt to begin the season, so it was mostly just going to be Cabrera being able to back up Anthony Volpe and whoever would be at third base to begin the season. So Birdie's now going to be joining the team. He didn't play with the Yankees at all this spring training. Like I mentioned, this deal was just made yesterday. But yeah, it's a solid pickup, I think, for the Yankees, and they didn't really give up much to get him. Like I said, they traded their 28th prospect, John Kruse. Nobody really knows anything about him. I don't know anything about John Kruse. And yeah, Ben Rortvedt, it was nice knowing you for that cup of coffee that you had with the Yankees. There was this running joke or running gag around the Yankee fans that we were curious to know if Ben Rortvedt actually existed because he didn't play at all in 2022. He had a lot of injury problems, and then he was actually hurt to begin the last season. And it wasn't until Jose Trevino went down in May of last season that he finally
Mhm.
came up. And when he
Yeah.
finally came up, fans were like, "Hey, he actually exists." So, so yeah, it was kind of funny. Rortvedt was a good
Yeah.
sport about it too. He joked
Mhm.
about it, saying that he thought it was pretty funny too. But yeah, Rortvedt, he's a solid catcher. It doesn't hit at all though, and he's off to the division rival Tampa Bay Rays. So, but which means that he is going to kill us when we face the Rays this
Oh,
year.
of course. Yeah. Everybody that turns to Rays turns into prime Barry Bonds out there. So
Yeah,
yeah, wouldn't be shocked if Ben Warfred turns into the next Johnny Bench, knowing the Rays magic they have there.
yeah, but I definitely think it's a good move for the Yankees. Birdie is actually 33 years old, or 30. He's either 33 or 34. Oh, he's 34 actually, so he's already in his mid 30s. He actually didn't come up. He didn't make his debut until 2018. So he was in his late 20s when he came up to the big leagues. But Birdie, a big thing that the Yankees like about him is his speed. The Yankees don't really have too much speed on that team. I mean, they got Verdugo, obviously. Verdugo's probably the fastest. Well, yeah, Verdugo's probably the fastest guy, Volpe's also very fast too. So I think Volpe might be a little faster than Verdugo,
He
but yeah,
will.
they got another speedy guy on that roster now. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a good deal for the Yankees. Don't know if you have any thoughts about this.
Yeah, I really didn't see it that deal until I was at work during my lunch break. And yeah, I mean, I think that Wardfed, I think that you guys had three catchers, right? So I think one of them had to go. Wardford obviously I felt had the most value in terms of being. I think Wells definitely deserves. I think Wells is going to be very good for you guys. Trevino, obviously, he's a very good catch. I think defensively, he's more. Wells is more, I think, could be kind of a more balanced type of guy, right? Trevino is a very good defensive catcher. Birdie, Ryan, I like it. Obviously, hopefully, he doesn't be a Red Sox killer because obviously for the Mets, when he was on the Marlins, he was a Mets killer, right? So he seems to be a guy that's in division now. Birdie, I think, is going to be off the bench for you guys, right? I think that, or actually, he might be a starter, actually, when I think about it, because I think that means that Cabrera, I don't think that they trust Cabrera long term to be there. They're starting third baseman. I definitely agree with that. I think Cabrera is fine, right? But I don't think that he is as advertised. I think that there's definitely still some flaws with for sure his game. Him and Peraza, I think for sure. And it kind of gets underlapped now with the Yankees too, with Peraza and Cabrera to kind of be the next step because they have just so much other talent now. They got Soto, got Judge, obviously. So yeah, Burry, I looked at his overall stats when you were talking, Brian, and he actually last year was the highest average that he has had with the Marlins. So I mean, I think that like you mentioned, he kind of reminds me of like the Gio Urshela, right? Just kind of a rule where you kind of know what you're going to get, right? He's a very good contact guy like Urshela was, but not going to hit for power, and just an overall type of playmaker where he can do things, right? Burry's going to probably more, for his speed. I don't know in terms about his glove. Obviously, Urshela was kind of a contact with a good glove, right? So I think that just the thing about the Yankees for the last several years that I noticed is they felt like they were kind of like a one-dimensional type of team where they relied on the long ball for so many years. Now they're getting some contact in the lineup, which definitely scares me as a Sox fan, but it's, I think, good for you guys because I kind of saw from a long-term picture where they needed that, and they got that with guys like Verdugo, Birdie. I think Glaber is more of a contact guy, right? So they got some balance now, right? And I think that the Red Sox have had some years in the lineup where balance works out. It's not just power specifically just can't win you right championships. I think you just need that balance. And I think the Yankees finally have it this year, and I think that's why big reason why Yankee fans are excited for this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Fed, there was really no place for him on this roster, especially because he's out of options. So the Yankees, they basically had to cut the cord with him, especially because they won Austin Wells up here, and they love Trevino and his work behind the plate. And yeah, another reason, like you brought it up, Cabrera, obviously Cabrera's still very young. He's only 25 years old, but he had a horrible year last year. He was just
Mm,
abysmal. He was one of the worst hitters in the league.
yeah, I remember
It was tough.
that.
It was tough to watch, and he had to go back down to the minor leagues and fix some things. And I don't think the Yankees are fully confident in giving him an everyday role just yet. He still has some things that he's got to work on. I mean, he still hasn't had an entire full season yet. I mean, I know
Sure.
last year they were looking. I mean, he made his debut at the end of 22, um,
Right.
and
Mhm.
they were looking at him to be, a kind of an everyday, outfielder slash infielder last year. But like I said, he just couldn't hit last year at all. He just was just overmatched, and he had to go back down to the minor leagues and work on some things. So so they're still not 100% comfortable with him being an everyday player just yet. But yeah, I mean, Birdie should get a good amount of playing time, I think, this year for the Yankees. And even when LeMahieu comes back, I think Birdie will definitely find some action time, a couple of games a week when the Yankees want to rest one of their other regulars, such as Glaber or Rizzo or somebody like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, I think this is a good move for the Yankees. And like you said, the Yankees are definitely trying to get more contact hitters, I think. And, when I look at the Yankee roster, this is probably one of the better rosters that I've seen going into a season in quite some time because, in previous seasons, I was looking at a Yankee roster, and I'm just looking at, some of these names, and I was just seeing some names, and I'm like, these guys are going to kill us. These guys are going to do nothing for us this year. I'm talking about guys like Josh Donaldson, Aaron
Oh yeah.
Hicks, freaking, guys like that who would
Joey
just
Gallo,
Joey Gallo, yeah, like Jay Bruce, like
Jay Bruce.
guys who I knew were just going to do absolutely nothing. And I was like, these guys are just going to hurt us. They're not going to give us
I
any
felt
wins.
the same way with the Sox. There were some guys, man. Well, Pablo Sandoval, obviously a massive bust of a contract. That was awful. I mean, Trevor Story, I mean, I can't make that yet a bust of a contract because I do think that there's still promise there. I think that he really had a very good sprint offensively, so hopefully that translates, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field, right? But I could definitely attest to it. There's definitely, I mean, Carl Crawford. I mean, I don't think that was great at all for us. That was a bust. So yeah, I mean, just there's a lot. 2013, that 2014 sled. Yikes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the Yankees are a team where subtraction was just as crucial as addition. They had to get rid of some of the clutter on this roster, and I definitely think that they've gotten rid of basically all of it. You know, also Luis Severino. I just looked at him and I'm like, this guy's not going to help us win that much if he keeps getting hurt.
Mhm.
You gotta let him go. They're just not going to help us, and it stinks because I do.
I think he's going to be good this year, to be honest.
I think he will, and I
Mhm.
think he made some tweaks to his regimen, and I wasn't the biggest Severino guy. I always kind of thought he was overrated, even as a Yankee
Mhm.
fan. I just never really bought into them saying he was as good as they say he is, especially since he just kept getting injured over and over again. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I do like this deal, and yeah, going off of that, we're gonna get into our opening week predictions. So obviously, the day of this recording, it is March 28th, opening day, and there are a lot of things to look forward to. So for my Yankees, they kind of have a tough way to start the season. They start out with 7 games out of the gates, 7 consecutive games, and they're against 2 very tough teams. And they start off against their daddy, the Houston Astros, this weekend. A team that has just given them fits ever since they've moved to the American League in 2015. They have just had the Yankees number year after year after year. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
who's been on their roster; they have just owned us, and it's been frustrating. The Yankees have tried to come up with different rosters to compete against the Astros, but the Astros have just been head and toes above them and everybody else basically in the American
Yeah,
League. So,
I feel the same way with them. Yeah, they.
well, at least you have a postseason victory over them.
That's true. That's true. No, we had some bragging rights at least for that postseason, so I can't say that for them. So that felt really good.
So yeah, the Yankees open up the season with 4 games in Houston at Minute Maid Park. Very tough way to begin the season. And obviously, Garrett Cole is not going to be with the team to start the
Mhm.
season. That would have been a hell of a way to start the season. Garrett Cole in Houston, Juan Soto making his Yankee debut in Houston opening
Mhm.
day. If Justin Verlander obviously was going to be the opening day starter for the Astros, that would have been a big matchup. That probably would have gotten maybe nationally televised, maybe on Fox right away. But
Mhm.
no Cole, no Verlander. This matchup opening day is going to be Nestor Cortez against Framber Valdez.
It's not bad though, Ryan. I mean, I do think though with Cortez, he was one of the better pitchers for the last couple of years, but I do think that between injuries and between just like I just don't know with Cortez if he can sustain kind of his excellence. I think he could be. I look at Cortez. I think at best as a high two in terms of a type of starter. I don't classify Cortez as probably an ace. I
Mm-hmm.
just I think that maybe for us he'd be an ace. I think that I would love him in our rotation, but that's not saying a lot. So I do think Valdez is very good. I think that last year though he got hit around a little bit more than he has been the last couple years. I mean he got in the postseason his numbers weren't great, right? He got tattooed against the Texas Rangers in the LCS last year. So I think that Valdez, I think, will be good for them, right? I think I'm more worried if I had it between the two, I'd be more worried about Nestor. But the thing about Nestor is, right, you're going to be relying on him a lot more with him and Carlos Rodon. Those are the two guys you're trying to bank on to give you the production at the pitching level without Garrett Cole. So if Garrett Cole's in the rotation, it's like, all right, you could kind of balance that out. You can have your highs and lows. there's no excuse now for Nestor. Like he has to be him and Rodon have to be those two type of guys where, it could go for the Yankees right now. That rotation could be they're very hopeful, right, before they get Cole back, because it's like, all right, now we can kind of show that we have the pieces in that rotation to make the next steps, or it could be an ultimate disaster until Cole comes back, because it's like, all right, we really of course they're gonna really need him. He's obviously their best pitcher. He's probably the best pitcher in the game, right? But you obviously need those next guys to step up. If a guy like Stroman, I think Stroman maybe can give you guys something, but he kind of is as advertised, right? He's going to probably give you, a 3 ERA, 3.5 ERA possibly. Nothing, flashy, solid. Rodon, obviously, like you mentioned earlier on in our program the last couple of weeks, first year was a disaster. Can he make that bounce back? We don't know. Nestor, kind of same thing. Last year wasn't, between injuries and being inconsistent, you just don't know. So I like Valdez. Cortez, obviously, I do think he's okay, right? So we'll see in terms of how it goes today. I obviously won't be able to get to watch a lot of it because I'll be working, but hopefully things go out in that game. So
the Yankee rotation right now. Like I said, Cortez starting today. Rodon. Some people have different pronunciations, even as a Yankee fan. I go, I guess, more towards Rodon. But it's Cortez, Rodon, Stroman, Clark Schmidt, and Luis Gil. He's going to be the Yankees' number 5. Gil is coming back from Tommy John surgery. He had a very good spring this year, and the dude throws gas. He throws like 99, 100 miles an hour with every pitch. There's a lot of the Yankees have high hopes for Gil. They hope that he can be a solid starter for years to come in that rotation. Gil has control problems, though. He does have a tendency to walk a lot of guys, especially when you throw that hard. And he's young. He's only like 24, 25 years old. And like I said, he's just coming off Tommy John surgery. But it's an opportunity for him to stand out. He made his debut in 2021. And he started by throwing, I think, 12 consecutive scoreless innings, if I'm not mistaken. So there's definitely potential there. But he just needs to find his footing. But the Yankees start out with 4 games in Houston. Houston's lineup obviously still formidable. Still got Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman. Some of these guys might be playing their final season in Houston, though. Bregman's a free agent after this season.
Yep.
So he's playing in a contract year. The Astros are looking for a bounce back year from Jeremy Pena. Pena kind of had a rough year last year. The Astros will be definitely one of the top teams.
No problem, as usual.
They're not going anywhere. They're gonna have another good year. They're probably on their way to another American League West title. It's not going to be fun to compete against them. At least we're getting the Astros over with. At least
that's true.
We're just getting it over with. So we play them this weekend on opening day, and then they come to Yankee Stadium at the beginning of May. So just like that, we're done.
Oh, perfect! Lucky you guys.
Just get it done with. Although somehow the Yankees swept the Astros in Houston last year in September, which came out of absolutely nowhere. I'm like, now you sweep them. Like that was my reaction. Now you sweep them. So you guys are pains in the It was with a bunch of kids too. It was when Dominguez made his debut.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they had Dominguez. Yeah. Which, by the way, I think is another thing to look at for the Yankees this year. Right, is Dominguez arguably was their most exciting player. Like when he got called up, because I do think, though, I feel that pitchers kind of a little bit more scouting reports, and we might have a little bit more of the struggles, especially if he plays a little bit longer this year. But if he could get in the lineup with Judge and Soto, and Stanton could have that bounce back, which I think for a lot of Yankee fans are hopeful for. I don't know about you, because it's about can he stay on the field, right? And can he, outside of hitting home runs, do anything else besides that? So we'll have to see. But I think Dominguez, when he comes back in part of the summer, just makes that lineup even more dangerous. So
I'm excited for Dominguez. But my hope for this series is the Yankees at least just split with the Astros. That's all I'm asking for. I mean, obviously,
is it 4 games?
It's 4 games, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
So, it's a tough way to start the season. And then the Yankees have to go to Phoenix and take on the Diamondbacks for 3 games.
Ooh.
So yeah, tough way to start the season, but at least the Yankees are playing in warmer climates. Usually, when you open up in New York at this time of year, it's miserable. I mean, the Mets already had to postpone their opener to
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I feel like New York and well, Boston. I think last year we had a really nice opening day.
Mhm.
We got lucky with that, but yeah, New York and Boston have had their fair. I mean, Phillies obviously they're getting theirs postponed. So Northeast in March. That's the only downfall of why opening day is this early at times. Is might not always just play, and that's unfortunate. So.
Yeah, and well, the weather isn't going to be that great for you guys, but you guys should be able to get these games in this weekend because you guys are playing in Seattle this weekend. Your opening day starter, obviously, is Brian Bayo, and you guys are going up against Luis Castillo and the Seattle Mariners. I don't know if this is a 3-game or a 4-game set for you guys. I believe it is. I think it's a 3-game set for you guys. If I'm not
Wait, you might be right. We might be. I don't know. Hold on.
It's a 3-game set.
Oh, okay. I'll bet. So if they disappoint me tonight, well, at least I could wait a day and not get my heart ripped open. So.
But yeah, you got Brian Bayo going tonight against Castillo. Tomorrow or Saturday, you have Cutter Crawford against Logan Gilbert.
Oh, that'll be Sunday. I think Pavetta's our 2, so he'll probably go against Kirby if I had to guess.
And Sunday they have a Whitlock going up against Bryce Miller on Sunday. So yeah, I mean, you guys, your opening day. You guys gotta wait till 10 o'clock tonight to play opening day.
Yeah, that's the Red Sox off season for you. They don't do a lot, right? And thankful. The only great side is I get to watch UConn right before the Red Sox. So that's one thing where if UConn does great, I know for a fact I could be happy about that because the Red Sox, it's like, yes, they're back, but in terms of the fan base, Ryan, I don't think many people are hopeful whatsoever with the Red Sox right now. But I just think that more people than not are just happy that they're back, right? So I hope they prove us wrong, but that's like asking for us to, do like a lottery ticket and just pretty much pray, right? So that's the Red Sox for you. But yeah, I think just all jokes aside, tonight's gonna be a really fun matchup. You gotta get the young kid against like Castillo's one of the best pitchers in the game. And his stuff is absolutely disgusting. 10 o'clock start. It kind of, obviously I'll take my nap in, I guess, after work and, get myself ready for that game tonight. It should be really fun. But the Mariners, I think, are kind of be a fun team. We've actually had a pretty good fair share against them the last couple of years. They obviously have some pretty good talent. Of course, J-Rod, J.P. Crawford. Their rotation, low-key, is one of the best rotations I think in baseball. I mean, Castillo, Kirby, Bryce Miller. I also have Brian Wu. Although I think he's going to be on the injury list to start the year. And they got Andres Munoz on the back end, whose stuff is absolutely gross. So, I think that hopefully, I mean, we got the West Coast trip, of course, start the year because why not? That's the Red Sox walk right now. To be fair, Ryan, we got the Mariners and then we got the A's. So I think that we'll be okay with that, right? We get to go in terms of you guys saying get the Astros out of the way. We could get our West Coast trip out of the way quickly, which is great. And then we got the Angels, right? So I think that the A's and the Angels series, I mean, before we go home to face Baltimore, and that's obviously going to be fun. But I think I think that the West Coast trip, right? I think if we can manage it, right, we could have a season. Right, because the Red Sox, compared to you guys, Ryan, you guys could probably be okay if you guys kind of struggle to get on the gate. The Red Sox can't. The Red Sox legitimately have to play great baseball, or else this season. I'm not going to declare the season over, like Salicata obviously said, way back in terms of I think he said the Braves season. I'm not going to be those type of person, but the Red Sox really need to have low-key a very good start to the season because for a fact that the teams ahead of them are just a lot better, and the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Rays, they're just better teams. I'm not going to just sugarcoat that. I think a lot of Red Sox fans would agree with me. So if they're going to make a season happen, And obviously, hopefully, that they can make the season with the Bruins and Celtics season over, because that's kind of the way it's been, where I could be kind of happy about the Bruins and Celtics and be like, oh yeah, I got my Red Sox after the fact, and like they're like 10 games out, right? So hopefully that they can have a really good start to the season, and at least take maybe 2 or 3 from Seattle. At least definitely could take the series from the A's. I would at least hope for, and for the Angels, because those two teams aren't great. So if you could just do that, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean the A's especially. There's no excuse not to at least take 2 games, at least.
Yeah.
No excuse. But yeah, so it's Red Sox Mariners this weekend. This weekend has some other interesting matchups. Corbin Burns makes his debut for the Orioles today against Anaheim in Baltimore. So he makes his home debut. High expectations for the Orioles this year. They had the best spring training record, I believe, in all of baseball. So they're looking to get back to the postseason this year, and I definitely think they will be back in the postseason this year. They're going to be a thorn in our sides, both of our sides this year. It's not going to be fun facing them. So,
Orioles, it sucks because like I low key love their roster, but it just sucks that they're in the division, right?
Yeah.
You look at like the team like the Rays. It's just like, we don't like your roster. We just don't like you, right? Yeah. The Orioles, it's just like, we like your roster, but it's just like, really, you now have to be good.
I hate the Rays so much. Oh, I hate them.
I don't blame you, man. I mean, they legitimately they have players who are just like, they should not be this good.
Yes, they should not be this good. I really don't, and I hate Kevin Cash.
No, like the bullpen stuff. I mean, the Kevin Snyder, both mound visits. It's like they do it constantly. It's just like.
Michael Kay always takes shots at Kevin Snyder when he comes out for a bullpen. Whenever he comes out for a mound visit, he goes, "All right, we're going to be here for a while, folks." Like, he always takes shots at him. It's pretty funny. Yeah. But so Reds and Nationals in Cincinnati. Obviously, Reds, tradition for them to start the season, to open up the season in Cincinnati. You're going to have to bundle up for that one, though, I'm pretty sure. Giants and Padres. That's interesting. Bob Melvin making his return to San Diego. So after bolting for the Giants, I can only imagine he's going to be greeted with open arms by the San Diego faithful. Yu Darvish making the opening day start for the Padres. Oh yeah, by the way, Nationals Reds. Yankee legend Frankie Montas is starting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, great. Yeah, another great move by Cashman. Cardinals and Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. Tyler Glasnow makes his Dodger debut against Michaelos of the Cardinals. This I don't understand why these two teams are facing each other on opening day. Blue Jays and Rays. They play in domes. Why are you making 2 dome teams play each other?
Oh, that makes the all sense of the world, right, Ron?
Yes. But 2 teams that neither of us like, 2 division rivals, are playing each other on opening day. I hope both of these teams just beat the crap out of each other. That's all I can say. Twins and Royals, kind of higher expectations for the Royals this year. Tigers and White Sox in Chicago. Bundle up for that game if you're going to that game. I don't know why. Why don't you have the White Sox go to Toronto to open up the season?
Well, I guess for people going to the White Sox games, the only thing that they can appreciate is the s'more shake that has been advertised.
$16 for that thing.
What's that?
What was it? $16 for that thing?
Something like that. Yeah, that's kind of like I was on my other show with Nick DiMartino. We were talking about the Marlins having the all-you-can-eat type of buffet. Yeah. That's essentially how they're going to get their fans, and the White Sox can do that. The Red Sox. Well, they got new ketchup, so that's how they get them.
The White Sox and Tigers. Then you got the Pirates and the Marlins. I don't think anybody really cares about that series that much. Jesus Luzardo pitching up against Mitch Keller.
That's actually not a bad matchup.
Not a bad matchup. Cubs take on the defending champion Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi gets to start for the Rangers. That actually sounds like an interesting matchup. Guardians and A's. I don't think anybody cares about that matchup necessarily.
Especially in Oakland too. It's just like, yeah.
The A's possibly playing their final season at the Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah.
So yeah, I expect a good crowd though and a bunch of sell the team chants though.
Yeah, they'll probably have like the A's typically have like a couple nights where they have like full capacity. This might be the night where it's like, yep, we'll show out, and then they'll have the sell the team type of things, and then you won't see a peep from them for the rest of the year.
And finally, Rockies and defending champion Arizona Diamondbacks. And the last thing that I and the and the last thing that I want to ask before we go off is the predictions. Do you have any predictions for Player of the Week, American League and National League for the first week of the season? Who do you think is going to get off to a fast start? Who do you think is going to get off to a slow start?
For both AL and NL, you said?
Yeah, give me two players who you think are going to win Player of the Week, and give me two teams. One who you think is going to get off to a good start. One who you think is going to get off to a slow start.
Oh man, I mean, I haven't seen every team's matchups, so it might be a little difficult. But
Yeah.
I think for teams, I think a team that will get off to a good start. The Mets. I think the Mets will actually have a pretty good start. They had a pretty good spring. I hate how I don't like to kind of translate that, but the Mets for some odd reason do really really well early on, and their fans think oh that this is it, and then this is kind of where they falter. They're kind of similar to me with the Angels,
Mm-hmm.
where the Angels and the Mets kind of have that great first couple months. It's oh my god, they look amazing, right? And then they just typically do kind of what they do throughout the summer. So I think the Mets will probably have that similar feel this year, even though their pitching, obviously without Senga, is kind of tough. In terms of players, wow, I'll go with both a pitcher and a batter. I think Juan Soto is going to come out just absolute guns blazing for you guys. I think that new place, he just seems just comfortable, and I think that he's going to have a monster weekend, regardless if he's going to be hitting the homer or not. And then in terms of pitching, I think Luis Castillo is going to have a monster game tonight against us. I think he's just going to absolutely shove. So I think that those two guys, I think Soto and Castillo, I guess for the AL, for the NL. Oh man, Spencer Strider. I think Spencer Strider he's going to put on an absolute clinic this year for the Braves. He's going to on Friday. He's going to be pitching against the Phillies. So that's be a really fun matchup there in Philadelphia. But I think that Strider, he might be pitcher of the week. He might be pitcher of the year, low key. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting. I think he has a really good start to the year. In terms of batters for the NL, I mean, you can go different types of guys. But I think for me, I'm going to go Mookie with the Dodgers. I think Mookie comes out really, really well. He typically has pretty good starts to seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of he kind of has that up and down. I mean, a lot of guys have kind of the roller coaster where they kind of can do great and then they kind of fall off. He kind of has pretty good starts, and then he kind of falls off a little bit, probably May, June-ish or whatever, and then he just completely turns up. Remember last year, Ryan, where Mookie had that 1 month where he just went bonkers.
Yeah.
So that kind of I wouldn't say he's gonna replicate that, but I'd probably go with I'm gonna go Castillo and Soto, and I'm gonna go Strider and Mookie.
Yeah, I could see both of that happening. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I would give my predictions too, but we're kind of out of time here, unfortunately. So yeah, Major League Baseball season begins today. The 2024 season is here. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of Hitting for the Cycle. And we'll see if Ben is right about his predictions, if any of those players have a good start to the season. And we'll see how our teams do after 1 week of the season. We're either going to be very happy next week, we're either going to be ambivalent, or we're going to just be miserable already after 6 or 7 games at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Ryan, I'd probably be more not surprised than anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be miserable now because I'm kind of all right, that's it's what it is. I don't know about you, Ryan. I'll have to see about how you're going to be feeling next week. So we'll see.
I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt, no matter what happens, whether it's good or bad. So yeah, I mean, the Yankees typically get off to a slow start every year, and the fan base just starts going into just a frenzy of calling for Cashman and Boone's heads every year.
Right.
So yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's a long season though, so if we can't necessarily get ahead of ourselves after 1 week. But nonetheless, on behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. Take care. We'll see you next week.